Hello and welcome to the Supernatural track here at Continual. I'm your host, Gail Martin, and tonight we are talking about the roads not taken for season 5. Where were their options that they could have gone in another direction, where the plot could have twisted, where some piece that never got mentioned again showed up and could have changed everything. We're going to second guess the authors and spin some alternative universes here, but first let's get everybody introduced. Carole?
Hi, I'm Carole Stokes. I've been a Supernatural fan since season 3, started writing fanfic in 2012, and currently am one of the co-hosts for the podcast So Get This, the Lore of Supernatural Fanfic on Spotify.
And Elektra.
I'm Elektra Hammond. I'm a writer and an editor, and I've been watching Supernatural since that very first episode aired.
And I'm Gail Martin and Morgan Bryce. As Gail, I write epic and urban fantasy. As Morgan, I write male paranormal romance, and all my modern worlds are ones Sam and Dean could walk into and feel right at home. Fell in love with the show halfway through season 11, binge watched 11 seasons in time for the start of season 12 in 4 months, and fell down the rabbit hole and have never come back up and not looking for the exit. So I'm very happily an obsessed fan. So there are so many different turns Supernatural could have taken in many different ways. And of course, fan fiction explores a lot of these, but there are always those, if you'd have made a different decision, if you'd have made a different choice, if the writers hadn't forgotten something that they said before, there are all these different ways we could have gone. So let's, each turn, let's pick a different thing that could have happened, and then we'll just keep going around until we run out of time. Carole, give us a road not taken for season 5.
I'm going to go with kind of a general overall one for the season, which would be, what if Dean had believed in Sam? What if he and Sam had not fought their way through this whole season and presented a unified front, whether that meant he went along with Sam, drinking demon blood and pulling demons out of people, or I guess that's really what that one would have been. If it had been the other way around and Sam stopped doing it, that would be yet another road where Sam says, okay, I'm not going to drink demon blood anymore, and I'm not going to work with Ruby anymore. I'm putting that all aside and just sticking with Dean in the Winchester way. So both of those would be huge. And we do see Sam take a little stab at that, where he does try to just at least not do it, but then they have the, at some point he turns back to it and he's like, why can't you see my point? I have a legitimate thing going on where I'm not killing people, and, I'm saving people, and this is what we have to do to keep the devil out of here and all that stuff. I'm not saying it would have ended well. However, that's not the question here. The question is, what if that had happened? What would have been the ramifications? What direction would things have gone? What would have happened between Sam and Dean to be unified like that, even if it ends up going down in flames? So there's a really big what if that would have influenced the entire season and possibly beyond, as well as their relationship and, how we would have seen things progress.
Okay. Elektra.
Well, things that would influence the whole season. What if Dean, when they figured out that he was Michael's true vessel, had said, I can control that son of a bitch. We can work together to get rid of Lucifer. And he'd said yes at the outset instead of fighting every step of the way to say no. He'd said, I've got my brother here at my side to support me in fighting off Michael. Not realizing where that was going to lead.
And we
he
would have
said
had that
yes.
great Peaky Blinders wardrobe sooner.
Well, along that same lines, what if Dean had jumped into the pit with Sam instead of Adam? And what if they'd have taken on hell together?
No season 6. Sorry.
Well, season 6 could have been the return. Both of them a little toasty and a little bit of smoke coming off them. But
Ooh, Soulless Sam and Soulless Dean.
Soulless Sam and Demon Dean, yeah. Whether Dean was his knight of hell, or whether his consort, or whether his right hand fixer. What if they had gone into the pit together, and in true Winchester fashion, heaven doesn't want me and hell's afraid I'll take over. And the question there is, if Sam had claimed his destiny as the boy king, could he have expelled and caged Lucifer and then whipped hell into shape with his faithful brother at his side?
Consigliere.
His
consigliere.
Oh, even more than consigliere, his his enforcer, his
man of all things.
Man of all things. So I think there's some. There's some.
It would have been a very different series, but yeah,
would have been a totally different series. But that's the whole thing with The Road's Not Taken.
Yeah.
Back to you, Carole.
So early on, we have Castiel looking for God in Good God, Y'all. What if he found him? What if that's when we find him and realize it's Chuck? What if all of that confrontation had happened way sooner, and maybe Chuck wouldn't have been such a whiny, evil little bitch? Because early Chuck seemed much more amenable and fond of and respectful of the Winchesters than, season 14 Chuck. Well, so maybe they could have actually worked together a little bit.
Maybe they could have pitched an alternate script to that, Chuck. Elektra?
I don't know. You guys are coming up with really good ones. What if when they ran into the 900-year-old witch Patrick, they recruited him to the cause?
Ooh, nice.
And it became Sam and Dean and their buddy Pat, who, sometimes he's in town starting a poker game for fun, and sometimes he's helping them out, killing monsters, because it's great to have a 900-year-old witch in your back pocket.
And he was
they slowly convince him that it's good to help people, and he convinces them that maybe witches aren't so bad because he would have been his bodily fluids.
It would have been the Rowena thing earlier.
Right. Yeah. Redemption.
Yeah. But Rowena is, for all that she's old, she is a sexy mama. And, he would have just been another dude they were palling around with.
But a hot dude. So it would have worked for us.
Yeah, exactly. But another hot dude that they were just palling around with.
Yeah.
And it would have just been another guy to add to the crew.
I like it.
Yeah.
And another thing, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, well, are you commenting on Patrick, or are you starting another round? Because
I was going to comment on Patrick. Well,
please.
That episode, not Patrick per se, but that episode, what if they hadn't been able to change Dean back?
Shorter series.
Chad Everett.
Well, that would have been a loss and a win. I mean,
he was a good silver fox, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Chad Everett. Yeah.
But yeah, what if
that would have been a win? But
had to deal with it.
Well, maybe we could have had him for 2 or 3 more episodes. That would have been
would have been fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe he just had to let it wear off.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
One day he would just wake up and, oh, look, I'm back.
Well, I'm going to go for two things that have been fixed in fan fiction, but were never completely addressed in the show, and that is the Samulet and the voicemail. So Dean does find out that Sam retrieved the amulet, but that's a long time coming, and they never really have much of a conversation about it. And as far as we know, Sam never finds out in canon that Dean really didn't send the voicemail that pushed him over the edge to go after Lilith. And I was really hoping in season 15 that they'd at least close the voicemail loop, and they did not. But in terms of them getting back faster on the same page and being a united front against all the big bads, having that chick flick moment of actually talking about what happened there and fixing it between them, they could have been a much stronger united front. Instead, it took seasons for them to really fix that hurt between them that was unnecessary. So I would have loved to have seen those two things addressed in canon the way they have been, very satisfactorily and inexhaustibly in fan fiction. Back to you, Carole.
So talking about open loops that we wished had been closed, let's talk about Jesse. He was a great character. I thought the kid that played him was terrific. It was such an intriguing thing because at that time, we had never heard anything about, half and half, about any kind of hybrids or anything. So having a demon and a human child was like really groundbreaking. And clearly we could see how very powerful he was. And so to just have him vanish into, presumably, was it like an Australian beach poster that he had over his bed, that's where they lead us to believe that he went? They just like threw out this great thing. And I think for seasons, we kind of kept waiting for the other shoe to drop and then bringing him back, especially season 15 would have been great to have Jesse come back and, help deal with this antagonistic and obnoxious god. And we never got anything. And again, lots of times now in fan fiction, people have really extrapolated various things, and they've even had so Jesse gets together with Ben and Claire, let's say, and they become hunters, or there's just all kinds of different avenues they've explored, but it never happened in canon. And that was really dudes, you had this great premise here. Let's run with it.
I want to know where people in Australian fantasy send people to get rid of them, because they sent Jesse apparently to Australia. Jesse sent himself to Australia.
Probably Texas.
Yeah, Hermione sent, her parents to Australia. That's where you send people to the end of the earth. Well, where does Australia send people?
Because Australia has the outback.
Malibu.
They are the end of the earth. Yes,
sends them to Malibu.
And there's just people in Australia only live on the edges. There's all that space in the middle where there just isn't a whole lot of anything. So
except large insects.
You should be sending people to Australia, to Alaska, where there's nothing.
It's true.
There's a whole lot. It's the same thing. There's people living on the coast, and then there's a whole lot of nothing that you can't reach unless you've got a small plane.
Or northern Canada.
Yeah, northern Canada is good, unless of course you've got a 67 Impala and you can just drive across northern Canada to Alaska.
It's true.
And you can do it very quickly.
What's your pick, Elektra?
Well, here's one. The Real Ghostbusters. We're at a fandom convention for the Supernatural books. What if it got around the convention that the real Sam and Dean were there? And they started, a rumor, and rumor became more rumor, and more rumor became fact. And they started talking to people, and other people started talking to people, and they managed to recruit 90% of that convention and train them to be hunters.
Nice.
And now we've got all of these other people that are actually, doing the work. They were halfway there anyway. And some
Well,
of them actually turn out to be pretty good hunters.
yeah, I had been going to say, what if the two guys that helped them decided they didn't want to fix copiers anymore and they wanted to be hunters, but you had a grander vision than that. So that's
Oh yeah,
terrific.
let's take the whole convention.
I was going to say, I never really liked the whole way Sam and Dean split up at the beginning of the season. We got stuck with that all the way up through season 9. And I thought it was kind of dumb, especially since Sam was being very responsible about saying, my head's not in the right space. I'm kind of a liability. I need to step back from this, which is sort of what Dean had been telling him. And then Dean gets kind of mad when Sam does it. So what if, as in fan fiction, they went to Rufus's cabin to let Sam get his head together and figure out what he's doing and maybe detox without throwing him in the panic room. And again, united front, Dean going, you're screwed up, but you're still Sammy, and we're going to fix this together. Instead of him running off and tending bar and all of that for a couple of episodes before they got them inevitably back together again. I would have loved to have seen that solidarity and that whole caring, if annoyed, big brother aspect.
Question. What if they actually managed to fix Sam when he got committed in the mental institution? I mean, as long as they were there.
Sam got a competent therapist, maybe somebody who had actually been touched by things that were supernatural.
As opposed to, somebody who was a monster. And, as a side effect of them being committed, Sam actually got, fixed, and maybe Dean got a little bit straightened out and a little less alcoholic-y.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they were there. I mean, they think of why they got committed in that episode. I mean, Sam says that he started the apocalypse, and now even all his friends want to get him. And Dean says that, well, it's not his fault. He didn't realize that killing Lilith was going to let Lucifer free. And the two of them end up committed.
For telling the truth.
Yeah, pretty much. So why shouldn't that end up with good therapists? I mean, in a sizable mental hospital, it's not like there's one therapist. Not everybody has the same condition, and there's different therapists come in on different days and see patients, and reality.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody sees the same doctor. One doctor can't handle the whole patient load.
Good point. Carole?
What if we go the other way, where Sam Interrupted actually goes all the way crazy? That would kind of spike their guns. I mean, all of a sudden Sam's like a loose cannon, yet still very powerful. So that could have some really unsettling ramifications. Plus, what would that do to Dean in terms of, knowing that his lodestone has cracked in half, and he's now and truly alone.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have, no Sam as a resource. Or the voice of reason, as he often is.
What if in Hammer of the Gods, they hadn't, Lucifer hadn't killed all the ancient gods? I always thought that was kind of disrespectful.
What if they ganged up together and managed to get Lucifer? Because, there were a lot of them.
Yeah, there were a lot of them. They were very powerful. And even if for some reason none of them individually was as powerful as Lucifer, certainly together they would be, especially if Gabriel threw in with them.
Well, and
So,
they had Mercury on their side. The speedster is always worth like 5 other guys.
yeah. Well, and Kali, I mean, come on.
She had everybody else terrified.
So I thought, that certainly was getting rid of a bunch of allies who shouldn't have been that easy to get rid of. So I would have liked to have seen a little more of that. And I wanted to see Gabriel hang around longer.
I really thought, I just remember watching it and thinking, he's not really dead. They're going to do something and he's not really dead. And I guess in a way he didn't stay dead, but he was definitely dead then.
Mm-hmm.
But I just was like, no, they can't kill him. No, they did.
Elektra?
Abandon all hope. What if they managed to not kill Joe and Ellen? I was so pissed when they died. What if they managed to blow up the hardware store and slide them out somehow and send them somewhere to get Joe taken care of, and she survives? And the boys go on to do what they do. They blow up the hardware store as a diversion so they can get Joe into a car and Ellen can take her to safety. And the boys go on to face off against Lucifer to discover that he can't be killed by the cult.
Even if even if that took them out of the fight, then because of Joe's injuries, they could have still been a resource like Bobby, like the Roadhouse had been with the lore and connecting people. So yeah, that would have been a much better thing rather than just getting rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
Carole?
What if when Anna goes to kill John and Mary, she succeeds? But because
short season.
But I would throw in something like, because she went back in time, it was actually an alternate time loop. So she didn't kill the John and Mary to keep Sam and Dean from being born. I mean, there's just all kinds of timey-wimey stuff you could play with in there,
But the Winchesters never happened. It's
yeah. I mean, or maybe they went on to be, Sam Wesson and, Dean Smith. I mean, there's just a lot of different ways you could play with that. Or what if she just didn't even go? Because I always hated that they made Anna become like a bad guy.
No, we get the story of the 2 guys that shot them in the episode where they went to heaven. And they become the 2 heroes.
Oh, that's funny. Funny.
It's got to be somebody.
Walt and Roy.
Yeah, it's the story of Walt and Roy and how they saved the universe in an alternate reality. God save us all. Walt and Roy, barely competent heroes.
But I was very glad that they brought them back in season 12, and they got to be the cannon fodder when they went to the British Men of Letters compound and blew everything up. It was satisfying to me that Walt and Roy bit the dust then. And that great moment of, haven't seen you in a while, since you killed us. No offense. Very Winchester.
Good line.
What if in Dark Side of the Moon, Dean realized that the angels were playing them and wasn't so quick to believe the worst of Sam and kind of got over himself, And they talked about it. And, what did you see? Instead of Dean being quite so pissy about the whole thing. Because I firmly believe that Zachariah manipulated what they saw to drive a wedge between them. And that those might have been Dean's fondest memories, but why a night when his mom and dad were fighting? That doesn't seem like a great memory. And Sam could have said, those weren't my best memories. Yeah, there was something good in them, but they weren't my best. And then once again, we could have eliminated the whole Sam and Dean are mad at each other for half the season and been the Winchester United front. So unfortunately, Dean was written to have very little faith in Sam this season. And he kind of needed to grow up, which maybe losing Sam potentially forever in the cage with Lucifer made him think about what he had done and how he could have been better.
And how much he had lost.
Yeah, not that I don't love Dean to pieces, but he has a bit of a button this season many times.
I also kind of had a note about Dark Side of the Moon where they find out they're soulmates and they're just kind of like, oh, okay, soulmates, shared heaven. Okay, next. Like, what if they really had considered what the implications of that is? Well, certainly in fanfic, there's a lot of huge implications and repercussions from the whole soulmate thing. But even in a canon sense, you could still have them realize, oh, this is what's really important, is that we are soulmates and therefore should be a united front, and that we are stronger together than apart. And, still come around to it then that the fighting they are doing is stupid and weakens them. They just kind of gloss over that instead of thinking about what does it really mean? I mean, because even Ash is like, soulmates, like this is a big deal. And they're like, yeah, okay. Can I have a beer?
Right. And played that even platonically as this is a rare bond that enables two heroes to be more powerful than they would be separately. And this is your winning, this is your winning piece here. I could see Gabriel showing up saying, yo, boys, do I need to spell it out for you?
Right.
Yes, I do,
right.
apparently.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would have been because that could have changed the whole rest of the fighting. Elektra?
Something I keep meaning to bring up, and I don't know what episode to attach it to, but somebody needs to pick up a couple of scanners and hire Bobby a couple of temps and go through his house and scan in all the lore and make Bobby mobile and make it possible for him to, hand out thumb drives to people with all the current lore. Here, this is what I got. Look it up. Do a search.
Send everybody a flash drive.
Just think what it would. You can get flash drives now that are, gigabyte, couple of gigabyte. It just revolutionizes the idea of, yeah, books are awesome. Let's scan them all in.
Yeah.
Let's search for stuff. Let's hire somebody to index all this stuff. The idea just makes me drool. We do that once, and now we have all that stuff at our fingertips, and it doesn't matter if we're home or not. We can access it on the road, and we should make copies and pass them around to a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Not because Bobby isn't incredibly valuable because he has a whole bunch of stuff up in his noggin, because he totally is, but because that makes him less of a target.
Yeah.
Single point of failure. My husband's always talking about a single point of failure, and that's Bobby. He's the single point of failure. If they lose Bobby, they lose at
Mhm.
everything. They use they lose everything that Bobby has and represents.
Mhm.
Yeah, we have to turn him into something where all we're losing is what he knows personally, which is a huge amount. And also we love Bobby, which is a huge amount. And he's their father figure, effectively. But, the library is something that we can duplicate, and we should. And we should make sure there's forwards on all the crazy phones.
Mhm.
And then Bobby's less of a target. And we should totally be doing that because we
Yeah.
love Bobby and we want to keep him around.
Yeah.
Because that's the first thing the demons did, is when they went after Bobby. Because Carole is absolutely right. He's a single point of failure.
Mhm. Well, you talked about recruiting everybody at the Supernatural convention, but in 99 Problems, you had an entire town that, okay, they were a little confused about who the bad guys were. But other than that, they had the skills, they had the weapons, they had basic idea. They were just being manipulated. And so again, more hunters to the cause, more people out there hunting the demons.
They
It
had
didn't,
an entire fire truck full of holy water.
yeah, why did we never see that again?
Well, because they weren't actually using an exorcism.
Right.
A fire truck of all of holy water is still going
Other
to be
than
helpful.
that,
But again, more resources that could have played into it. Still could have been Sam and Dean leading the charge, but
but
they,
with
they
backup.
hmm?
But with backup.
Yes,
Huge amounts of backup.
because there were plenty of demons to go around that came through the Devil's Gate. There were enough for everybody.
You get a demon and you get a
You
demon.
get a demon.
You
We
get
all
a
get
demon.
demons. Very good. Carole, what next?
Oh gosh. So what if when Sam and Dean and Adam are all in the beautiful room, what if they had managed to get Adam out in time? What if they had managed to grab him and bring him along with, so he wasn't trapped and didn't then go on to be Michael's temporary vessel when they ended up in Stull. So they could have had Adam with them. He could have been just like we had hoped to see him when it turned out he was really a ghoul. They could have trained him. He could have been the third Winchester. We would have gotten all of that kind of stuff. That would have spiked Michael's gun in terms of who would he have been able to be at Stull when he's trying to have the fight with Lucifer. And yeah, it would have been a lot happier for Adam, I think. and again, an ally, another resource, another ally, and family, another family member, because they don't really have any at that point.
Yeah. Elektra?
And that is a good one. What if when they all got into the beautiful room there and Zacharias showed up, Sam is on one side of the room going, "Hey, look, butterfly," and Dean pulls out the Colt and shoots him, and that's the end of Zachariah. And we're good, and they walk off happily with Adam. And like you said, now they have a brother, and they can teach him the ropes about hunting. And all they have to do is convince him that they did this on purpose to save him because they care. Because the angels have managed to convince him that they don't care about him. And if they can just convince him they care, they have another brother in the fight. And that would be pretty awesome. I love that idea. I think we just need to, maybe take out Zachariah, because God, he is a smarmy son of a bitch.
I do really love that scene when Dean gets him with the angel blade, though, and his face all bursts into light and everything. That is a lovely, lovely shot.
Well, the whole bit about I'm willing to do what you want, but I have a few conditions, and the first one is you have to die. You have to die, which was all, you know, a complete fake out, but a lovely one. Nobody likes Zachariah.
What if they used the spell from Swap Meet to basically play a shell game on who's in Sam's body today, where you move?
I like this already.
Yeah, you move souls around. You're hiding Sam so that he, you know, can't be used against you. And maybe you put a powerful witch in his body to zap whoever comes after him. Maybe you put a skilled exorcist in his body who has even more mojo than Sam does, so that the Sam body becomes very frightening to everybody who's after them, because they never know what they're going to get. I mean, while Sam is over here safe in the body of some twink flipping burgers, and Dean keeps Sam safe. Sam, you know, is rendered useless for the purpose of Lucifer, and it would have given Jared even more characters to play, and he could have stayed away from that, you know.
Oh, I could see them, like, you know, playing cards for who gets to be Sam this week. So yeah. It's not planned. They do it on a random draw of some kind,
so that it can't be guessed at.
Right.
That is just brilliant.
Because it's totally random.
That is just brilliant. I want 10,000 words on that.
That is just great.
And, you know, okay, it would traumatize the actual Sam, but probably less than everything that actually happened.
Certainly less than actually going to hell.
Yeah.
And losing his soul.
Back to you, Carole.
Oh gosh, I can't follow that. Oh man. I think I'm tapped out.
Oh my heavens.
I know, that never happens.
I'm
just still stunned by the whole Sam and Shellgame thing. That's just like, that is just fabulous.
Let's toss out one for the end. And this is one that I have seen several different fanfics on. But what if somehow in Apocalypse World, either Sam from our world shows up. He never said yes to Lucifer, but things went badly in his world. And somehow, whether it's Chuck, whether it's Cass, somebody throws him into the end world. And he encounters Dean. And now he encounters End Dean. And maybe Sam's Dean is dead. Maybe he doesn't know. But this is the Sam that fought Lucifer and won, but he lost everything else. I've read that fic. It's very good. There's another one where Dean is running Camp Chautauqua, and once again, Sam survived the showdown with Lucifer, but he was extremely damaged. And so Dean has saved him and keeps him, you know, he's really got a lot of psychological damage, but he's working through it. And yet, in the end, he still ends up being the missing piece that they need to take on whatever the next challenge is. I've read that one too. So, you know, variations on that end verse where our Sam or his Sam, there's also one where Sam shows up at Camp Chautauqua and he's somehow Lucifer has let him go. Doesn't know how, doesn't know why, and having to win Dean's trust. So, just playing on variations of that theme. And maybe Cass doesn't end up quite as powerless as he makes everybody think. And there's a different resolution to the whole Lucifer issue in that Enverse world. Because I'd pay a lot to see more of that thigh rig. Elektra, we're almost out of time, but do you have any other thoughts?
I keep thinking, what if Sam had figured out that Brady was a bad guy earlier than they found out, which was this season? What if he realized that his buddy in college was bad way earlier and was keeping it in the back of his mind? So when he showed back up, Sam was ready to take him out before, like, right. And like he'd hypnotized him and had a word, and he said, tangerine, and Brady was like in a trance or something, ready to do his bidding. Because Sam had known all along that Brady was a demon, and he wasn't fooled.
Well, folks, go ahead.
It didn't seem like Sam to be totally fooled by a guy.
Yeah.
Again and again.
Well, folks, we've been through our time again, and we've definitely raised some interesting possibilities and thrown out some fan fiction fodder. But we are out of time. So before we wrap up, please tell everybody where we can find you online. Carole?
On Facebook, you can find me, especially in the TFWNC group and on the continual group. On Twitter, I am true_firesign10. All of my fic is on AO3 under firesign10. As Ellis Colton, I'm a male romance author with my first book, Prescription for Love, now available on Amazon, and all my social media links for that name are on carrd.co.
Very good. Elektra?
I'm Elektra Hammond. I'm a writer and an editor. All of my stuff is at untilmidnight.com. And I mostly do my social media these days on Mastodon, where I'm Elektra@wandering.shop. And find us on Mastodon at 7:00 on Mondays under the hashtag WriteFant.
Very good. And I'm Gail C. Martin and Morgan Bryce. As Gail, I've already said what I write, but I'm easy to find at gailzmartin.com, morganbryce.com. All of my social media are a variation of one of those names. Spell them right and you'll find me. I run the Supernatural TFWNC group here on Facebook. I am a columnist for the Winchester Family Business when there isn't a strike and there are actually new episodes of things. But mostly I'm here on Continual. So thank you both very, very much for being here tonight. And thanks to all of you for watching and listening. There will be more Supernatural coming up soon. So we'll see you online.